Hello and welcome to Cleveland Classic Cinema. Tonight's movie is 1958's The Fabulous World of Jules Verne, directed by Carol Zeman.
From the fantastic Jules Verne, creator of Around the World in 80 Days, comes now the most fabulous adventure on, over, or under the earth. The first motion picture produced in the magic image miracle of Mistimation. Wonders never before seen will unfold before your startled eyes. Fantastic aircraft fly the skies. Electronic machines in incredible sea battle. Adventure in the mouth of a blazing volcano. Underwater escape from Terror Island. The Fabulous World of Jules Verne brings you the master storyteller of our time, with wonders to delight and excite and stir your imagination. The Fabulous World of Jules Verne.
Shoot them down, the traitors! Go on, shoot them down!
This is a special occasion. Tonight's movie, The Fabulous World of Jules Verne, marks our 100th episode. I never thought this show would get this far. First of all, I never expected it to last as long as it has, since I didn't think anyone would care to watch me sit and mouth off about any movies, much less the crap we broadcast. I have tried to sneak a good movie in once in a while just to keep everyone off balance, but before I wrote this, I looked at the list of films we've shown and felt a little sickened by what I saw. 25 of the past 100 shows were actually good movies. Now, granted, I'm stretching the definition of the word good here. If I didn't stretch it, there would have been only about 19 or 20 that could actually be called good. Well, more like 15, to tell the truth. Still, it's not a bad ratio, and I take it as a compliment to my intros that even though 75, or if you're going to get picky, 85, of the movies I've introed have run the gamut from merely bad to soul-destroying, my faithful viewers have not only stayed tuned, but have enjoyed the experience of watching the films we present. I could flatter myself and claim that they just watched the show for the intros, but even now, 100 shows later, I still find myself doubting that what I have to say about them is interesting enough to pull in the 8 or so people who watch the show on a regular basis. Thankfully, when I meet my viewers, none of them strike me for showing movies like Invasion of the Star Creatures or The Monster Walks, but I imagine that those movies have their fans as well as any of the others. I do admit that if anyone ever told me that they loved either of those films, I would have given them the number of a good shrink right after I moved a safe distance away. I suppose I'd best get to the intro for tonight's movie now before I start blubbering or something, so let's get the show on the road. At the outset, let me say that I researched this intro using the absolutely indispensable book Keep Watching the Skies, American Science Fiction Movies of the 50s by Bill Warren, and in fact, would never have even seen this movie if not for his recommendation of it. The Fabulous World of Jules Verne, although it looks as if it were made in the late 1800s, was actually shot in 1958 by visionary director Carol Zeman. I think in order to enjoy this movie, a little explanation of the way it was created is in order. Director Carol Zeman started his career as a poster designer in Czechoslovakia. Posters from that country have always been noted for the excellence of their design, and Zeman was one of their top designers. He also worked as a window dresser and a director of publicity films before turning to other kinds of films after World War II. His first post-war film was A Christmas Dream, a film that combined puppetry with live action. For one short film called Inspiration, he animated glass figurines. He accomplished this by heating the joints of the figurines until they became flexible, posing them, then allowing them to cool before shooting the single frame of film and repeating the process all over again. Stop animation is a process that requires incredible patience and a tremendous amount of time to begin with, but doing it that way must have been agonizingly slow. I've seen that short, and I can tell you that its charm is only surpassed by its artistry. You can look it up on YouTube, and I guarantee you'll be amazed. The Fabulous World of Jules Verne, originally titled The Invention of Destruction, was Zeman's third film, and he approached the special effects in a unique way, one I've never seen before or since. He decided to create them so that they look like the woodcuts that illustrated Verne's original first editions. He did this using whatever process he deemed necessary, be it stop motion, puppetry, cut paper animation, silhouettes, or hand-drawn animation. He even put the parallel lines of the woodcuts over the live action, extending the artistry to a depth I've never seen before. The effects are charming rather than realistic and add a magic to the finished film that is enchanting. The film didn't go over too well with American audiences who felt the special effects were too fakey, but that outlook completely misses the point of the amazing work done on this film. As a viewing audience, Americans are conditioned more or less to demand realism in special effects. We want to be able to believe that what we're seeing is real to a point where flights of fancy are dismissed as inept. The true charm of the effects in this movie is that it looks as if it were actually made at the time the stories it was based on were written. It is also true to the mores of that period, which was the late Victorian era. For example, when the hero climbs up to the heroine's window and catches her in her nightclothes, she insists that he remain outside until she dresses, which he does, hanging from the windowsill by his fingertips until she invites him in. The outlook of the film is pacifist and very anti-bomb, yet it is not anti-technology. The vision of the future in this film is, as it was in Verne's novels, that technology would bring peace and prosperity to a troubled world if used with the best intentions. The world has yet to see that happen, of course. What really happens is that whenever a new technology is developed, the first thing it's used for is what is euphemistically referred to as defense. Okay, but the technology one country possesses and defines as defense is another country's definition of aggression if they don't have the technology as well. The A-bomb was a perfect example of this. When it was ours and ours alone, the country felt safe because if anyone started rattling our cage, we could hold the A-bomb over their heads until they backed off. The rest of the world didn't see it that way, seeing it as an unfair advantage. When the Russians started doing atomic testing, everyone started having kittens, especially when they beat us into outer space. That was when the escalation started. Oh, you have the A-bomb now, huh? Well, we have two! And they told two friends, and they told two friends, and so on and so on. And it still goes on to this day, all in the name of national security. Yippee-ki-yay. That. I am not going to turn the celebration of my 100th show into a rant on nuclear weapons. This is a happy occasion. This is where I'd usually do the bios, but seeing as this is a Czechoslovakian film and the information I could give on the actors, even if I could pronounce their names correctly, would be meaningless since nobody in this country would know who I was talking about. I should point out now that this film is presented in its original language with subtitles. I know some people hate subtitles, but this is the only copy I could procure. Besides, I prefer seeing this in its original language, especially after some of the lousy dub jobs I've seen on movies I would have otherwise enjoyed. So right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the fabulous world of Jules Verne, right here on Cleveland Classic Cinema. Stick around after the movie. I have some more stuff to say.